There is a quiet moment that doesn't feel like an ending. It doesn't arrive with clarity. It doesn't arrive with relief. It doesn't arrive with the sense that something has been completed. It arrives as the absence of expectation. This episode is about what it's like to live when you no longer feel that you're on your way somewhere. For much of life, we live in transit. Even when things are stable, even when nothing obvious is wrong, there is often a sense that this isn't it yet. That life will really settle once something else happens. Once I understand this, once I become that, once things finally align. We may not think this consciously, but it shapes how we move. It keeps us slightly leaned forward, slightly unfinished. But there may come a time when that forward lean softens. Not because you've arrived somewhere, not because something resolved, but because the idea of arrival loses its relevance. You're not waiting anymore. At first, this can feel anticlimactic. If you've spent years orienting toward change, insight, or growth, the absence of arrival can feel flat. There's no milestone, no confirmation, no sense of completion, but there's also no tension. Living without needing to arrive doesn't mean nothing happens. Life continues to unfold. Days pass, events occur, decisions are made. What changes is the way those movements are held. They're no longer steps on a path. They're just life happening. You may notice that you no longer frame experiences as progress or setback. Things happen, and you respond. You don't need to place them on a timeline. You're not tracking where you are in a process. This doesn't mean you've stopped learning or changing. Change still happens. Learning still occurs. But they're not being measured against a future version of yourself. You're not becoming someone. You're being here. This episode isn't about giving up direction. Direction still arises when needed. You still plan. You still move toward things. But direction no longer defines your worth or your sense of being complete. You don't need to get somewhere to be okay. This can feel deeply relieving, but also unfamiliar. Without arrival as a reference point, the mind may search for orientation. What am I working toward now? What is this all for? Those questions don't demand answers. They fade when they're no longer required. Living without needing to arrive doesn't mean you stop caring about the future. It means the future no longer holds your sense of fulfillment. You don't place yourself on hold. You don't treat the present as preparation. You live where you are. This can change how you relate to time. Time no longer feels like something to get through. Days don't feel like stepping stones. They're complete in themselves, even when they're uneventful. You don't need the day to justify itself. You may notice that this changes how you experience endings. Endings don't feel like closures. They feel like transitions that don't require commentary. Something finishes. Something else begins. Nothing needs to be marked. This episode isn't about settling for less. It's about recognizing that the idea of more was never what made life meaningful. Meaning doesn't come from arrival. It comes from presence. And presence doesn't need a destination. You may still have moments where the old pattern returns. Moments where you feel the pull toward becoming, fixing, resolving. Those moments don't mean you've lost anything. They're habits passing through. You don't need to correct them. You let them move on. Living without needing to arrive also softens comparison. When you're not trying to get somewhere, other people's paths lose their urgency. You're not behind. You're not ahead. You're here. This can feel deeply grounding. You may also notice that gratitude changes here. You're not grateful because you've reached something. You're not appreciating life because it turned out a certain way. There's a quiet acceptance of what's present. Not approval, not celebration, just acknowledgement. This season has been about ordinary life continuing without interruption. It hasn't been building toward insight or transformation. It's been noticing what remains when the effort to arrive falls away. What remains is life. Unresolved, unfinished, complete. This episode doesn't close anything. It simply recognizes that nothing was open. You don't need to finish your story. You don't need to arrive at yourself. You don't need to resolve your life. You're already living it. If you're listening to this and noticing that you're no longer waiting for something to click, even though life hasn't become perfect, you're not missing the point. This is the point. If these reflections feel like something you can return to, you're welcome to stay. Liking the video helps it reach others who may still feel pressure to arrive somewhere. And if you want to keep a steady space like this available, you can subscribe, not for guidance, but for companionship. If someone you care about feels caught between where they are and where they think they should be, you're welcome to share this with them, only if it feels right. Life doesn't need to arrive. It only needs to continue. And it already is.